So welcome to the Posner Property Perspective. You've been saving your money, you have your down payment ready. That can be anywhere from 3 to 20%. Now you're looking for an agent who's going to help you find your home. What are some of the 5 questions you need to ask this agent who you're going to be working with? So when you interview them, you're getting the right match for you and your family. So for example, when you're talking to them, you want to know how many deals have you closed in the last year? How many clients have you helped both buy and sell a home? With today's changing market, also find out how many have they sold in the last 6 months, 3 months. Are they active? Do they know what's going on? In today's market, you got to keep your pulse on what's happening between changing interest rates, the economy. Different things are affecting why people are buying. But let's be clear about this. People are always buying and selling homes. We all need to have a place to live. And if you purchase a home, you're helping establish your financial legacy for you and your family. So we want to ask that agent, how many homes have you sold in the last year? Do you want to work with an agent who sold 3 homes or one who sold 20 or 50? Then you're going to find out from them, how well do they know the area you're buying in? Are they familiar with the local HOA requirements? Are they familiar with the schools? In Atlanta, it's really important to know your commuting time-wise. So how familiar are they with the local opportunities? If you have special needs, it could even be being vegan or gluten-free. Are there stores and restaurants around that are going to provide that? Do you like hiking? What activities do you like? I always ask my clients what's important with them when they're not at work. So we know what kind of area they need to be looking at. Then you want to know, how have you helped your clients win contracts when they're in a multiple offer situation? There's a lot of different strategies, and you want to make sure that your agent is asking the right questions. It's for a lot of sellers, it's not just price that they want to know. They want to know when you can close, how quickly, is it contingent upon the sale of another home? These are all things they want to know. When things were really heated up during the COVID situation and people were buying homes, a lot of people gave up inspections. I always told my clients, don't give up the inspection. Give up the right to ask for repairs. And during your due diligence, we're going to do the inspection. And if we come up with something really big, then you can choose to get out of the deal. But I never recommend giving up a home inspection, because you need to know what are the long-term updates and repairs you'll need to do on a home. Homes are always going to need work done so that you're keeping up the value of the home. Then you want to know who's on their team. Do they have a good attorney? It's very important to have a good loan officer. So if you're not already pre-approved, they're going to make sure that you're working with a local loan officer who knows that metro area, who they've had experience with, and make sure that they can get you to the closing table. Then you want to know, do they have a list of home inspectors that they work with? Do they have a good group of contractors that if you need repairs, you can get them out there to give you quotes on what's going to have to be done so you can move into the home? These are all things that you want to make sure that your agent is aware of. You want to make sure they know about healthy living. Are they familiar with mold testing, radon testing? You want to make sure that they have a whole team around them who can make sure that this process goes smoothly. Then you want to make sure your communication style goes well with each other. Are you just a texter? Do you like phone calls? I work with a lot of empty nesters and senior citizens. You know what? They don't like signing a contract online, and I bring it to them in person. But everyone has their own style, and it's important to know that. And you want to make sure that they pick up their phone and they're communicating. If they're taking 2 days to get back to you, that is 2 days too many. Then you want them to be able to walk you through the home buying process, from the financing down to the closing table? Do they know the different steps involved? And can they explain it to you so that you're going to feel confident in the whole process? You know, buying a home in New York is different than buying a home in Atlanta. So it's important to know what are the differences. In New York, a lot more is done through the attorneys. Here in Georgia, a lot more is done through the real estate agent. As a matter of fact, at the closing table, if it's not an all cash deal, that attorney is representing the loan, not necessarily the buyer per se. So it's important to understand the whole process. So you've got your real estate agent, you've gotten your loan approved. Now we're going to go look at properties. We're going to view them. You're going to write up an offer. You're going to then have due diligence, which typically is anywhere from 3 to 7 business days. You're going to have earnest money, which typically is at least 1%. If you're in a multiple offer situation, you may be putting down more earnest money. During your due diligence, your earnest money is protected. If you go beyond due diligence, you could end up losing your earnest money. So you want to be very cautious of calendars and dates. You may have a finance contingency and you may have an appraisal contingency. All of this is going to be negotiated in the terms of the contract. And it's very important that they explain the contract to you and don't just send it to you and say, sign it. They need to be going through and explaining to you so that you know what you're signing. Once you've signed the contract, you've done your inspections, you're going to negotiate that price almost 3 times when you're under contract. During the first getting under contract, you've negotiated a price. If anything comes up unexpectedly during the inspection period, and if it doesn't appraise. So just be aware that there are 3 times when prices can get negotiated. Right now, a lot of times we're even asking for closing costs. So there's different ways a whole contract can be put together. And it's important that your agent understands all that, especially as things are changing. Once you've gone through and you're now under contract, all your contingencies are up. The attorney's going to make sure to do a title search. They're going to get you to buy title insurance. They're also going to get you to buy homeowners insurance. Those are 2 different types of insurance properties. So a lot of times, if you're moving from out of state, your agent can help you find your insurance agent to make sure that you get your house properly covered. Once you go to closing, we also have to make sure the utilities get changed into your name. Why is that important? The worst thing is the seller gets the utilities cut off. You as the buyer move in that weekend and all of a sudden you realize the water is shut off. And guess what? The water companies don't work Saturday and Sunday. So it's very important to make sure that your agent has made sure there's a very fluid and easy flow. And also, right before going to the closing, after you've done your inspection and you negotiated some repairs on the house, you also want time before closing. Usually we ask for 3 days before closing that all the repairs have been done. They've sent over all the receipts and you've gone through and walked the property to make sure that those repairs were done properly. Sometimes we even bring the inspector back depending on what kind of repairs are being done. That way there's no hidden surprises. You also do a final inspection, usually the morning of the closing. Why is this important? I had it happen this year. A tree fell on the house the night before closing. Typically, I would have picked up my sign in the lockbox as the seller the day before, after the client, if they've done their walkthrough. This particular client had done their walkthrough the day before. It ends up the clear to close didn't come through until 3 o'clock. I wasn't going to get in traffic in Atlanta to go to this property and drive over an hour and then have to drive back. I knew if I went early in the morning, I wouldn't hit that much traffic. So my sign was still up. Well, that night there was a really bad storm here in Atlanta. Tree fell, hit the back of the house, took down the deck. The only reason we all knew about this is my sign was still up and the neighbor called me to say, hey, just so you know, a tree fell last night. So I always say on the way to the closing, just drive by the property, do a quick walkthrough. You've already done your major walkthrough 3 days prior. This is just to make sure that if they had just moved out, nothing got damaged in the move out. The washer and dryer, if you negotiated that they were staying or the refrigerator was staying, that they're still there. So it's important to go through that final walkthrough on your way to closing. The whole goal is to get you to the closing table. So make sure you choose the right agent who's got the experience, who can get you to the closing table as stress-free as possible. And here at Posner Properties, we like that opportunity to help you. So if you're looking for a home in Metro Atlanta, give us a call. And we'll see you at the closing table.
Thanks for tuning into the Posner Property Perspective. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it helpful as you navigate your real estate journey. Remember, whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring the market, I'm here to help to make the process smooth, exciting, and stress-free. Let's take the next step together. Contact me today. I'd love to hear from you and make your real estate wishes come true.